Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to the colorful world of Skittles. Skittles brings you a jolt of 5 fruity flavors in every bite, giving you the chance to taste the rainbow like never before. Break free from the ordinary day-to-day with the help of Skittles Chewy Candy. Skittles is a must in my candy jar. Movie snack, even my secret, so an afternoon pick-me-up. And I don't even care who knows it. Add a splash of joy to your day with Skittles. There's nothing better than fruity fun that tickles your taste buds. Taste the rainbow. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode. It's your girl Carla. Now we're going to start this episode off by apologizing. Yes, last week we didn't have an episode, but we're going to have 2 this week. Don't you worry. I'm going to get back in the studio and bulk record. Really, things have been going amazing. There are, of course, life taking and kicking my ass in certain places, but life is just getting better and better, busier and busier. So thank you to everyone that has shared my podcast, to anyone that ever tells anyone, hey, if you want to start a podcast, I know who the it girl is, and sending them my way, because right now I'm literally having to, I have the ability to say no to certain things. But before we get the show started, I want to shout out an Apple Podcast review. I do this every episode, not only because I want to give back, right? And I want to acknowledge you. I know that you take the time to listen to the show, so I want to acknowledge you. And 2, this allows the show to continue to grow. So T. Selden wrote, let's get back to that 5 stars. And you know what? I agree with you. So if you haven't left your Apple Podcast review and rating yet, please do. We're at 4.8 because we had a few haters, but it's cool. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't doing something right. I think somebody said that. I don't know who. Maybe I just saw it on Instagram. Well, T. Selden says, I fell in love with this podcast within the first 2 minutes. So many relatable topics. So happy I found you. I share your podcast with all my girls. Thanks, girl. I hope your friends are listening too. So, hey, T. Selden girls, how are you? Thank you so much for sharing, for leaving a review, for leaving a rating. It really does help. Now, we're going to start the show. This episode, I was actually doing it right here from home with Paola. We came from a full day of doing This Too Shall Pass in studio, and we didn't have a chance to do our episode. So I was like, girl, let's come back. And you know what? Paola is a ride or die. You hear me? Well, maybe not die. I don't want to kill her off with me or anything. But she definitely will get things done with me. So we came back, and we did an update of what happened when I went to Atlanta, when I went to Dallas, what's been going on and how all that went. So like a little recap of it. And it was really good. We even started crying. I'm like, thank God that the cameras were on, because y'all stay seeing me crying but it was just it was a good one. It was about prayer. But hopefully this episode gives you, some inspiration, and maybe it helps you buy a ticket for Women Evolve next year, which I am not getting paid at all, but I just had such a good time. But I also have to preface this by saying that you're going to have like 2 to 3 minutes of really not the greatest audio. We were recording on the mics and all my equipment, but I started late. So we're going to start right now with the beginning of the show, but just give it a second. The first 3 minutes are, they're just the audio from my computer. So give it a second, and then we'll get back to the regular mic audio. So enjoy the show. I just got back from what felt like, and it was a week trip. It was a whole week. I was gone for a week. And where did I go? I went first to Atlanta. We were doing a production with Know For Sure. Mm-hmm. And if you're new here, I am the producer for the Know For Sure podcast with Simone and Megan Ashley. And it was a very special production. It's going to come out at the end of the year. And it's a men's panel. So we had 85 South, and we also had David Chance, Alex Good Energy, and Tony Gaskins, which I actually
have to reach out to.
Yes, I do. So these men were all talking about vulnerability. You guys will say at the end of the year, amazing. But everything came full circle, and I haven't even told you this. And I'm going to I'm telling that one. I'm going to tell you at the same time. This is
our catch up.
This is our catch up for real, and I'm going to get really excited. So just stick with me, okay? So I go to this production. I already had in place to go to Women Evolve. I bought this ticket September of last year when they first went on sale. I didn't know how I would make it, where I would go, but I just knew I was going. We didn't even know where I was going to be at.
No, I didn't tell you.
No, because they did it in Atlanta. It was the last of her dad's, so they ended up making it in Dallas. So I didn't know where it was going to be at. I just bought it with faith that I needed to be there. I didn't realize that this past year would be so tough, and I would need it.
I think I really needed it because it was 3 months after the whole court thing.
It
So a couple of
was.
months after that, so I was like, you know what? I really need something. And I just knew it was going to be a year later. So I buy the Woman Evolve. I love Sarah Jake Roberts. I love her father, TD Jakes. So
You're a new fan of her sister, Cora.
oh my God, thug ass Cora. Love her.
I
love her. And I'll tell you guys why I fell in love with her. She didn't even speak. And I fell in love with her. So Women Evolve, it was a 3-day event. I got the Inner Circle ticket, and the Inner Circle basically had an intimate Q&A with Sarah Jake Roberts. By intimate, they meant 1,000 women.
Let's preface by saying you went on this trip alone.
Oh,
You went on this by yourself.
Yes. And also, let's preface this by saying that week, the enemy was really messing with me. I was hella anxious. I really wanted to quit and not go. I'm like, why am I going? It became a lot having to go to Atlanta first.
Mm-hmm.
That was just like move. Atlanta came literally days beforehand. I wasn't supposed to be there.
Retreat. You had just had the retreat.
I had just had the retreat with my team here, which was, it was so good.
It was.
It was so good. We brought everyone here to Orlando, and we had an Airbnb. We did a boat day. We hung out at the house with a chef. We went on the pool.
We took naps.
Yo, my team is the best. We take naps. It was so good.
Sleep early.
We were all asleep by 10 o'clock.
Every day.
Every single day. Everybody slept at my house at 2 different nights.
Yeah.
Like my couch and my spare bedroom were used. And I will say I don't like people at my house.
I was going to say, you're not an open door policy at home.
No, I'm not. Yeah. But I guess a lot has happened. I'm not, but everybody, I was really anxious day one. So coming from work, I'm like, oh my God, there's always people at my house. Like I did feel away. When I walked in, I felt at peace, honestly.
Everybody was just so chilled. Mm-hmm. Everybody was so chilled that I'm like, this is good. So that weekend happened. And now I'm feeling just rushed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I'm like, maybe I should just not go. I'm going alone. Why am I going to Dallas for the first time? I've never been to Texas alone.
You had mom guilt too.
Oh, mom guilt
was
the worst.
You've been
gone. Yeah, that is a really long time. It was like 6 days gone from Sami. And then money as well, right? So she's part of the team for my business, my life, essentially, which is Raquel. She's my nanny. And I brought her with me to the retreat because although it was like, and just the team, I needed Sam there. I knew I was about to leave him. And I'm like, I don't want to be watching him or be responsible for him in a sense, but I wanted him to be there with us. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was like, whatever it costs, I need her there. Because Sam is not one that you can just, especially with a pool. No, it was a very open house. It was a pool with no gates around it. Stairs. It was just not a thing. Okay, so I go to Atlanta. Atlanta was great. It was really, really good. Then I get to Dallas and I get to my hotel room, get changed, and go straight to this inner circle of 1,000 intimate women. When you're
compared to 40,000.
Compared to 40,000 women in a stadium, yes, it was intimate. The second I walked into that place, I was just crying.
Just walking in. It
was this, like a ballroom,
mm-hmm.
and women were talking, and I'm like, oh, don't cry. And it just felt really overwhelming that I was there. I was like, Sarah Jake Roberts was wearing this dress thing with like gloves that covered her fingers. No, not the blue.
Oh, I was
the leopard. Did you see the leopard outfit?
Yes.
She was sitting up there in this leopard outfit, and I was already feeling inadequate with my clothes and what I took. So I overpacked. I had to pay for extra luggage and extra weight. I took your carry-on plus this huge body bag that's out there that I have from May. Ginormous. Plus I have my backpack. Like I had so much shit with me because I'm like, okay, are people going to walk in there like it's a runway show?
Yeah.
What is this going to be like? So I just took extra clothes just to see what I should wear. And didn't think really of my clothes once I got there. I could have really been in a sweatsuit. Some women were, honestly. Others were like showstoppers.
When you got to walk,
but
you need comfort.
WALK in all caps.
Yeah,
you had
walking.
To walk a lot. And being in a stadium, thank God that I was on the floor, but still you had to come down to the floor. So it was still quite a walk. So I wore heels the first day.
So proud of you.
Dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. I definitely almost cussed out May and Celeste for making me wear those heels, but I felt compelled to not cuss. So I just said
Thank
it.
God.
I definitely said it in a way like, never listening to y'all niggas again. Like, y'all are in your 20s. Why am I listening to you? But it was a cute outfit anyway. So one of the things that I did, and I'm glad that I did this, I took extensive notes. Is that the
You
word?
did. Yes.
Extensive?
Excessive. Excessive.
Well, no, excessive would make it negative.
It's not negative. It's a lot.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can scroll. There were a lot of different speakers. So during the inner circle, she was just kind of talking about the event, right? And she kept saying how she did not feel like she would be able to do this. When she first, like, he passed the baton over to her, TD Jakes to Sarah Jake Roberts, I think the event was supposed to be like 18,000 women, somewhere along those lines.
I think it was supposed to be less than that. It was
Might have been less.
3,000.
Well, the last one was 3,000.
Yeah.
Over to 40,000.
Right. That's
So whatever it was, they weren't equipped for it or they weren't prepared for it. They oversold like by the thousands the pre-sale in the first 48 hours. So she was like, all right, fine, we'll move it to a stadium. And she didn't realize that it was going to cost millions of dollars to put up screens and the lighting and all of this. And me being in production, I can understand because I can give someone a minimum podcast budget and they'll be like, what? How many thousands? So for that, I'm watching the production. I'm like,
you see the dollar signs.
Dollar signs everywhere. So she also said it's been a year in production. They didn't secure their sponsors until 4 weeks before the
What?
things. 4 weeks beforehand.
Oh, I know she was praying.
Praying. Yeah, they did 40 days of fasting.
Oh, they needed the Jesus fast.
They needed a serious Jesus fast. But that was also very, I think, because I look up to her or I admire her, because admire is not a bad thing, right?
No.
I admire her as a woman, as a business, as an entrepreneur, all these things, that I can see how someone can look at me and where I am today and say, hey, I'm inspired by what you're doing, or keep going, or really continue to be transparent with what you do. Because her being transparent about that reminds me of me being transparent about myself and people being like, well, damn, it happened for her.
That, and I think she was winging it with faith.
Yo,
She was
serious
just like, you
angel
know
wings.
what? We have to do this. It's going to get done.
Right.
Something's going to happen that's going to let it happen.
She called for a quote and it was somewhere between $2 and $3 million, and she needed to have that deposit within 48 hours.
I would have hung up.
She said she told them, well, one thing I know for sure is that you're not about to have this deposit. And she said she went on Amazon Prime to see how much some of these lights cost to make sure they weren't lying to her, trying to get her money.
Yeah.
And it was what it was, right? But it ended up happening with prayer. She had to let go of some people. She said that one of the head people that she had worked with for a while, that person and their view of things and the way they were talking and moving was disrupting the rest of the team.
So like they were negative.
I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't remember if she said negative or what the word was, but she said that this person, she had to let them go. And it was her main person to go to. And I had to relate to that a lot because literally within a week or weeks before going there, I had to let go of someone in my company that I valued, and that I didn't think it would get there. And it felt like she was speaking to me. So again, it showed me the importance of being transparent with what I have going on, because someone else might be listening that's trying to get to where I am or dealing with something specific or similar, I should say. So that was huge for her to be like, yeah, she said it was really hard, but she had to let them go.
With this coming up?
In the middle of
yours too?
Wow. So tears were just flowing because there's never been any ill intent in my heart. And you know this, like when I move, when I love someone, when I want to work when I'm working with people, I want the best for everyone. So when I feel like things have gone left or they go in a negative way or they say negative things about me, it's like, man, I really tried. What could I have done different? And I start beating myself up about what could I have done different. So during the inner circle, she talks about no matter how impressive things look in the end, there's a lot of struggle in the journey. So we're looking at the stadium full of people and it's like, yo, there's so much struggle in this journey. We were like, she said she just kept praying and hoping that everybody would show up.
I mean, that's all you got left to keep your sanity.
Right. So she also says, she talked about people saying to get over what you've been through and then to just enjoy your new life, right? It's like, those days are done. You're not struggling anymore. You're not And to that, she said, don't ever lose sight of how low you were and how far you've come. Don't ever forget so you don't think your doing is close to God's doing. So we do get sometimes too complacent and we're like, oh man, I did this, I did that. And it's like, wait, you're forgetting that God has been with you along the way. There are things in my life that don't
Makes sense.
They don't.
I always say, I think you're like a literal walking testimony.
Oh man.
Since last year to now, it's
Even-
very nice to see.
I'm in this damn room and I'm crying. Like my
Oh my
eyes water up.
God.
No, because it's true. Like a lot of the things that I go through don't make sense. And even I think this
the
last
good and the bad.
Absolutely. Even this last, what seemed bad
Mhm.
and what seemed negative and what I was stressed out. And I'm like, why is this happening? Why are these people saying these things? In the bigger picture, I needed it.
Mhm.
I really needed it. And then even finishing that talk with Carlos today, and I'm like, man, I really can shift in this way. And if this person would have been in place, I wouldn't even have the opening to bring that in, you know? So many things have happened in my life that it's like, I need to remember this is not my doing. It has been my doing of obedience, which I always talk about. Obedience is huge for me and it's hard. And it's like every time something happens, you'll be like, let's turn up. And I'm like, we can't. And hopefully, like, I hope that rubs off on you, that it rubs off on Courtney, on Kaysen, on Yasmin, like on everyone that's around me. It's like, we can't react because we'll see the fruit of it at some point. We just don't know when. And it's really hard not reacting.
And I haven't turned up.
You haven't.
I haven't
We've
been
done-
tested to
we
that
ha-
level
We've
yet.
done it internally.
Oh yeah, and listen, there was phone calls, there was conversations that was had with me and Courtney. Okay,
Right. So, the thing here, she goes, letting go of team members that don't align and be able to transition. You know, you have to delegate then and let go of anyone that doesn't align. So the word really one of the words for the weekend was alignment. Stay in alignment.
That's big.
Yes. And the second that someone no longer aligns with my vision, with my mission, with my morals, with my values, I got to let them go.
Yeah, because that's gonna compromise you.
Absolutely. And this is not just business. This is friendships. This is relationships. Like if you don't align with where I'm going, you got to go. But also make sure you're aligned. Where are you going? You know,
Direction.
where is your what direction are you
Where
going
are you
in?
going?
Right. Because it's like sometimes some people might use this as a manipulation tactic. You don't align with where I'm going. It's like, well, where are you going? You're going to a brick road. Brick wall.
We're running into the ocean. The GPS said to turn around.
The GPS had turned on a
I'm
long
going
time
by
ago.
faith. No, you don't float. You float, but not this car.
Right. It's like sometimes we're like, oh, we're leading by faith or we're listening to God. But are you? Are you
say I hate when people do that. And like you said, it is a manipulative thing.
You can use all of this to manipulate someone.
Oh, 1,000%.
It's so easy because
you gotta have faith in me. You gotta have faith.
faith is not tangible.
Faith without works.
Is dead.
It's a great thing to have an idea. Oh, people,
Mhm.
I have great ideas all the time. Have I executed all of them? No, because they were not great ideas when you said it out loud. Or sometimes it's like,
when you take a second to really think about it or
what is it going to take
pray
for
about
me to
it,
get there?
or even when you pray about things,
Or even when, not everything. You're not supposed to say yes to everything.
right. So then that was a little bit of what I got from her in the inner circle. And that night we were talking about the Israelites in the desert. I believe they were around, 40 years?
40 years they wandered.
40 years wandering in the desert. And they were saying how your desert is your training ground. Learn to dance in the desert. And I think I've become a way better dancer in the desert. Still a two-step.
Not in the club, but the desert, yes.
The desert, I've been learning to dance in this desert where you're in between this, you left hell, but you're not quite at the promised land. And the desert, there's not much food. There's no water. There's no housing. So
It's
you're
hot.
kind of like, it's hot. At night, it cools down. So
Freezing.
there are days and times where it's like, okay, this is not so bad. Or you might find a little bit of water. You might find a little bit of food. But it's like, dance there. Rejoice there. Stop complaining while you're there and just keep moving forward because you'll find where you're going. So it says,
Learn from there.
another point that I got from there is like, don't plan a funeral where God said to hold a festival. So some people, God is like, yo, rejoice in this journey. Be happy right now. Love what you have. So I'm thinking about like my home right now. I really would love to move. And it's like, let me not make this a cemetery. Well, my dad's back there, all the ashes
No
I got.
offense.
No offense to you, Dad. And my
No
grandpa.
offense to all of you.
All the dead people in my house.
That's what you didn't mean there. Don't come out here.
Right. But I be rejoicing with them, right? They come on my lives. I have a good time in my house. I'm not planning a funeral here. It's like I'm rejoicing here until it's time to move to the next phase, because the desert can also become a distraction. So now you're distracted and you're there for longer than you need to be there. So I was just
That must have been a good word. But what? Well, because I know the story.
Right.
And it's one of those things like, yeah, they were so happy they got out of Israel. And then they're like, but you brought us to the desert. You took us out of there. At least we had food over there. At least we had
Right.
a house. At least
they were slaves.
They were slaves, but they kept thinking of, oh, but we had that. So you bring us here.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have no food. He gives you bread. We only get to eat bread. That's it.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because they talk about anxiety will create false memories. So you're a slave, and like you're saying, there were slaves back there. They had food. They had somewhere to sleep. They were miserable and they hated it. But because now you're in the desert and you're anxious and you're like, well, I mean, it wasn't that bad. The food was good. And you start creating these false memories of feelings that never even existed. So I think back to, relationships that we've been in.
At least I wasn't alone.
At least I wasn't alone.
At least I had somebody to sleep with next to me. At least I had somebody to help me.
At least they ate dinner with me.
At least they ate dinner with me. But occasionally we just had like really bad arguments, but it wasn't that bad.
But if you were to go back, it's like, oof. And then a lot of us, it takes 7 times for us to leave, right? A relationship.
2.
Well, the average woman, it takes you about
7
7 tries, or at least mentally, right? You're like, you leave, you block, you fight, you leave for a day, whatever. So whenever you leave for that day or that week or whatever, you're like, okay, it wasn't that bad.
Which is crazy how your brain rationalizes I don't know if it's your brain or your heart. I don't know which one
I think it's brain.
That's rationalizing
Maybe heart
this
too.
Crazy thing.
A mix between both. Definitely. So Deuteronomy 1:8 was what they read during this Thursday night. It says, that one says, see, I have given you this land. Go in and take possession of the land the Lord swore he would give to your fathers, to Abram, Isaac, and Jacob, and their descendants after them. They go and get this land, and that's when they spend the 40 years, when it should have taken them, I think it was 40 days. 40 days. So sometimes a relationship or a friendship or a job
was only supposed to last 40 days, and you was in it for 40 years. Oh, that's the word.
That is a word. Oh, that's a word. Boy, I tell you.
When you get distracted, when you get complacent.
All of it.
You don't have direction.
Direction is hard. And I think sometimes
when you're not aligned and equally yoked.
You think about direction of your GPS, right? But you're not thinking about the fact that you entered that address into that GPS. When are you going to pray to God and say, you enter the address? Like, we're entering the address all the time. I'm like, I'm going here, or I'm going there, or I want this person, or I want this job. Take a second to pray about it. And it's like, do you really need to be there? Or how long do you need to be there for? Talking to myself.
Ooh, that was close. That
was so deep. So Dr. Anita Phillips. Dr. Anita Phillips was someone that I had no idea who she was.
Till this weekend.
And Dr. Anita Phillips blew my mind away. She is a minister, and she is also a doctor in science. She's a trauma therapist.
Which I think that is so crazy.
I got her book.
Considering at least my personal experience with the church has been that there's no mental health. That's not.
Pray about it.
Deal.
Pray it off.
Pray it off. Fast it. Hang out with different people. Stop doing that. I think it's so interesting that she's a mental health doctor.
Trauma specifically.
And she's also a pastor.
So she went in about how the heart works and how your brain works and how you need to still be like the alignment with God and how it all comes together. So she's saying that a lot of us are emotionally flat. We just kind of coast. So she says emotional flatness is not being like Jesus. If you never felt anything, you need to talk to somebody because your soil is damaged if you hold it in. So a lot of us hold in our emotions. And she said even Jesus had feelings. Even Jesus went through a lot of tumultuous things emotionally. So if we're supposed to be like him, why are you trying to be flat?
Jesus wept.
Jesus wept. He really, really did. She said that it affects the way that you think and the way that you tell a story. And the way you tell a story goes on for generations. So if you're emotionally flat and we're telling our kids a certain story about ourselves, right? Or how the world views, or even about God, They will now tell that story to their kids and their kids and their kids. So what we believe today is generational. Our parents brought this to us. Our grandparents brought this to us. So now we have to be those movers and shakers to change
the way that we think or what we've been brought up to or been brought up with.
And it already feels heavy. Like even talking about, I'm like, that is such a not a burden, a responsibility. That is
And
such
it's
a
a
huge
lot of work.
Hell yeah.
It's expensive work.
It's expensive. And most of it not even expensive monetarily. I think it's even more expensive with the relationships you have to lose. That is
The shedding.
it's
That
a lot of
sucks.
shedding. So much shedding you have to do. It says that trauma changes the way we view ourselves and the way we view other people in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So I can think back to, my last relationship where he would always be like, women are all whores and like all women do this and all women do that. And it's like, I can understand that because that's all you've experienced and heard and seen. But at the same time, it's like we have to be responsible to study, to read, to look outside of our neighborhood. Like, I don't care how many planes you've been in. You have not experienced the world.
You're not cultured. You
You're
haven't learned.
You're not learning other people. You're not getting to know others, and you're not opening up your mind to what other people have going on. And that's so important to do. So she mentioned about the heart being the Garden of Eden. And her book is called The Garden. Darn it, I don't even know where the book is. But I'll link her book to the bottom of this, which I will read it. And I'm definitely going to do a review on it because she talks about how many valves there are in the heart. 4 valves, and then there's 4
Ventricles.
But it was like 4 of that, and then 4. Now I don't mess this one up. She was really good. With her, I didn't take a lot of notes because she had me like
In a trance.
no, seriously, because like you said, we don't see too many people in the ministry, especially women, that can bridge both mental health and spirituality.
And you're honoring both.
Yes.
Because I
With
think that's
respect.
also a big thing.
Yes, with so much respect and so much intellectual.
Mhm.
So about Dr. Anita Phillips, if you know anything about me, when I like someone
She fixates.
and I want to talk to you, I want to meet you. If I need to have if I feel it in my heart that I have to have a conversation with you, I'm going to do it. So I found out the last day that she was having a book signing at a Barnes & Noble's. And that day I took an Uber to my hotel room. I realized on the Uber that there was this book signing. I went in, peed, got back in an Uber, and took my ass back to Barnes & Noble's. And once I got to Barnes & Noble's, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to tell this lady. There's a white man taking your book. And he said, you can't even hold your book. Like, I'll give it to her. They take your phone. They won't even let a friend or someone you're with take the picture. They take one picture because the line was long. Everybody named Mama showed up because she was that good. Right. So I'm like, what am I going to tell this woman? So I couldn't tell you exactly what I told her. But I did tell her that I needed to speak to her and I wanted to have her on a podcast. And I told her who I was. And she said, go get Anna. Someone get Anna for her. Get the information, exchange information. I said, where? Anna, where are you? So I got Anna and her personal assistant and the person that does all of her scheduling. I got her and Anna immediately knew who I was and was aware of my work.
Really?
And gave me her text. Took my full contact, text me right then and there, email. Like I got everything from her. She said, hit me up by Tuesday. Today is Thursday and I have not hit her up yet.
You will.
But
I'll
I
remind
will.
you.
I have so many contacts and things. This week was such a blessing. Like I have.
Couldn't even sit down and mind your business.
I can't even mind my own
Couldn't even
business.
do that.
No, I'm like, God is just like pouring right now into me, all because I didn't not go. I could have not went, but I did. And there's just all these blessings that continue to come in. Now, one person that I did not realize was going to be there, and I love the white woman, Dr. Brene Brown. So if you don't know who Dr. Brene Brown is.
She's a white woman. If you just hear her voice, you would never.
She has so much soul
Her
and
voice.
sass to her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's so good. So there's 40,000 women in this place. When Sarah came out, the roof almost came out of the stadium, right? When Dr. Anita Phillips came out, loud and going in. Dr. Brene Brown. I am on the floor like, yeah. Then I had to stop. No one was really cheering.
You're like, this was not cool.
Well, I'm like, I am so confused. Did y'all not know who Dr. Brene Brown is? And around me, people didn't know who she was. And I'm like, oh my God. But I also think because of the podcast space, I know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, they're about to find out quick who Dr. Brene Brown is because that woman has zero filter.
Mm-hmm.
Zero filter. And let me tell you something. It got to a point when Sarah looks at her, she's like, girl, because she kept saying ass and damn. And you could tell she was holding herself back, but I don't think it was so much Sarah had an issue with it, but more like her mom and her dad were there and elders were there. But when they were like, should we have her censor herself? Everybody's like,
no, because I think in that instance, it's not in a negative connotation.
right. That's just the way she talks. And I think
There
Sarah
wasn't ass in the Bible.
Sarah was very much like, I listen to her content constantly.
Yeah.
She is very aware of it. So if you know how she speaks, you knew what was coming, right? But it's more like, oh, damn, she didn't censor herself for this either. But no, Dr. Brene Brown is her. She's herself. So Dr. Brene Brown, this is when it came full circle, tears falling down my eyes as I'm taking this. All they talked about was vulnerability. This entire weekend, they just kept talking about vulnerability. What is vulnerability? So in this production weekend, we even had everyone do vulnerability is blank and sign it. We recorded them doing it.
Mm-hmm.
During this, they were doing vulnerability is blank
Oh,
to everyone. I just came from doing that with all these people. And I'm like, is this really happening right now? Wild. So some of the things that I got from Dr. Brene Brown is that there is no courage without vulnerability. I think a lot of us think vulnerability is weakness. And in a way, it can be I think society has made it weakness. But she said there is no courage without vulnerability. The willingness to show up when you can't control the outcome is vulnerability.
Yes.
So you're showing up, you don't know, you can go and tell somebody I love you, and they might be like, I don't want to talk to you no more. You know, that's vulnerability. Like showing really to someone that you might trust who you are, or even me coming online and being vulnerable, right? Crying, telling you how I feel. And it's like, they gonna rip me apart on the Reddits or the lipstick alleys or the comments or my DMs. I was vulnerable and I can't control the outcome of how people are gonna receive it. But she said that the most vulnerable human emotion is joy. Yeah, so I'll explain. So when you're joyful, you wonder what's about to happen next. When is the next shoe gonna drop? So we never rejoice in joy.
Because you stay ready for what's going to happen.
Right. So she said, well, why don't we then
gone to this conference?
I'm telling
I'll
you.
get with you next year.
Next year you're coming. So she said that we dress rehearse tragedy, thinking that it's going to hurt less. So we dress rehearse someone dying or breaking up with us or losing the job or getting fired or our kids getting hurt. We've dress rehearse all of these tragedies. And it's like, what if we just rehearse joy? Dress rehearse joy all the time. How happy I'm going to be, how I'm going to sit in it. That way when you're there, you know what to do, because when we dress rehearse tragedy, what tragedy have you rehearsed that would hurt less? It's never happened. It still hurts. You're still depressed. You're still low. You're still sad.
Yes, you are. But I think as someone who personally does this,
Most people do.
I think, yes, it still hurts. It still sucks. You still cry, but you get out of it quicker. Because it's like.
So here's the thing. What she explained was like, rehearse and joy, right? Get used to being joyful. Get used to being happy. So when those tragedies do come, your body, your mind, your spirit is already used to saying, you know what? You can see it the glass half full instead of the glass half empty.
Okay.
So there's always this bright thought in there, even in the midst of tragedy. So I can even say when we have tragedy now, or like things happen to me, even with Ayana, right? It's like, it could be a lot darker for me if I didn't sit here and think, you know what? She is clothed. She is housed. She is loved.
She's safe.
She's safe. She's 10 minutes away from me. You know
that you raised a good kid.
Right. But if I wanted to take it the other way, it's like, she's not here. She doesn't want to talk to me. She could be.
I lost another person in my family.
Yes. And it's like, I have taken it the past couple of months in a way where it's like, let God do his thing and just rejoice in the fact that I did the best that I could with what I had. And then I'm going to continue to support her, love her, encourage her, respond to her. And because of that, it hasn't been that long. She met with her yesterday, was it? Day before yesterday. She's been texting me. So, yeah, it's like I've been trying to rehearse the joy versus tragedy. Because tragedy is going to come regardless.
Yeah, but
that'll be hard at work. I
think mentally we're more able to rehearse the tragedy than the joy.
I think that's what we're used to.
Yeah, like that's what we've been programmed at this point.
Yes, that is our programming, and which is why
It's
we're these
harder.
catalysts in our lives and in our family, at least the people around me. The people that I have around me and in my circle, we are catalysts of our family. We are doing something different. We are trying to think different. We're trying to have a different generation of children, of mental stability. We're at least doing the work, right? Like, you have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Yes.
You're doing something about it. There are some that are diagnosed and are saying YOLO, you know, to the rest of the stuff. So we are at least trying to be active to work with what we know and make it better. But it's really, really hard. Another thing from Dr. Brene Brown is that to love is to be vulnerable. You can't control how someone can love you back. But when you have to wear an armor, you can't allow yourself to be vulnerable. But you can wear the armor sometimes, but the armor is really heavy. So when I'm in my inner circle of people, I don't want to have to wear my armor.
And I think that perfect example of that was the weekend that you just had with everybody.
Yes.
And you said it, and it was so funny because there would be times, I don't think you noticed that either, like, we would be looking at you but you would, like, stand in the corner and you'd be like, I'm so happy.
I was
So
because
happy.
I didn't feel forced to not be myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel forced to do anything I didn't want to do. I was so excited that we were all sleepy at that table at dinner. Oh, it was so cool. I'm like, I love that no one, like, we would dance and then stop and then dance and then, like, chill again and then laugh and talk. And it was just like everybody.
When the food came, we killed the
When
food.
the food came, it was time to eat. Nobody was being, like, modest about eating. Everybody was just being themselves. I mean, what's his face was asleep the whole time. Kaysen was asleep. He's a sleepy ass nigga. But you know what? We all work really hard, and that's exactly what I wanted this weekend to be.
Right.
I wanted it to be rest. There were computers out.
Very, very minimal.
But we got to rest and just be together because we're all together usually just virtually. So I want to create a space where armor is not required. And I think that when I made the decision to let the person go, I had to, because if not, we would have been having to wear armor, or I would have had to have an armor on. So when I was asked, is like, what can be done? Nothing can be done.
Right.
Because I cannot be in my safe space with an armor on.
It's like being uncomfortable in your house.
Yes.
In your house. How are you going to make me uncomfortable in my house?
And
You're a guest here.
And I've already done that, right? We do that in relationships where we're in your home and we're uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable in my home.
This is the first time in my life I am living alone. When I tell you from January 20th, 2023 to September 21, I like my space. It's a different level of peace.
Yeah.
And I will be damned if anybody comes into my house to cause havoc in that. Like, that's my little safe space with me and my daughter. It's just me and her.
I can see myself being single for 10 years.
Listen, I'm at 6.
You have 6.
That's still 6.
I mean, like, I can see myself not dealing with.
Well, I think at least both of us, I was in it for a little bit longer than you. Like, the relationship we were in was just so
tumultuous.
Yeah, that it's like, I can't imagine dealing with a week of what I was going through in my house, in my quiet, happy.
And I had it in this house. Oh no, I didn't have that in this
I can't
house.
imagine a person coming in there and like fighting and throwing things and arguing and this. I can't imagine that.
I think I'm lucky that when we were here in this house for a year and a half or however long we were in here, it wasn't like that. You know, at least there was peace here. So when I think of the house in Jersey,
it's not
that
peace.
house. I think of, I envision. Sometimes I think about it, I just think of I see the house black. Like I sometimes can't even remember like the color. If I think hard enough, I do. But the house just seems dark. It's like this dark memory, and it's weird because it's like gloomy, and the house just felt.
It was so big, and didn't matter how much stuff you put in, it still felt empty.
It
was so big,
so empty, and I knew what was going on inside that house, so it just felt dark. And in this house, I'm like, wow, I don't hear anything. It's quiet. I hear my son's giggles in the backyard. These damn lizards keep coming in, but it's like it's fine. I've even killed some.
Better than deer.
It's better than deer tick for sure. Not dick. Dear ticks. They're a thing. So the last woman that I would really, really talk about that I loved, and also we follow each other now, and I will have her on the pod. I'm telling you, I've been shooting my shot left and right. Love McPherson. So I'm going to tag like everybody's Instagram at the bottom of this. Love McPherson. She is like a relationship expert, essentially. They're also faith-based. She was just on the podcast with the guy with the yellow couch, the one that interviewed the Bonnet wife.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of the podcast. But she was talking about, first about the brain. And this is part of the reason why I was taking so many notes. And this happened like on the second day. She says within an hour of learning something, our brain will forget 50% of the information. Within 1 hour. And I'm like, to me, it's like a minute, instantly. Gone, 50%. I won't remember. So she's like, we have to write down the lessons we have learned in a relationship. So when you're with a man, really write down the things that are happening. That's where journaling comes into play because we forget specifically the bad things. Immediately within an hour, we just forgot what the argument was about. You know how sometimes if you get into a physical, unfortunately, if you've been through a domestic violence or a physical relationship, you forget why you had the fight. You just remember, you might remember the hit.
But you don't remember what the argument was about.
What was the argument about? You need to write these things down. She's like, also, you need to have these notes to self. I think she has a book or some type of course called Notes to Self. It says, write down what's reasonable and what's not. So here's some of the things that you might be asking that are reasonable or not reasonable. So if you're asking someone the wrong thing, when you ask for someone to make you happy, you're asking the wrong thing. So someone else cannot make you happy. You have to be already happy yourself. And
Say that again.
I think we talk about this all the time, or we hear about this all the time. Another person is not supposed to make you happy. You're supposed to be already happy
on
yourself. And then, so if you're asking someone, make me feel good about myself, unreasonable. You cannot get someone else to do something externally that you can't do internally. So you
it's
can't.
Called self-esteem for a reason. Self.
Fix my life. You can't ask broken people to fix you. They all have a full-time job working on themselves. So you have to work on yourself. And it's a constant evolution of you working on yourself because it's different things. But you can't ask someone else to fix you.
That and they may fix you. They may fix you to what they want.
Right.
Not what you need.
So you need to be constantly working on yourself, and you have this other person that you love, but you don't ask them to fix you. The thought that every day will be compassionate love is unreasonable. Every day will not be this compassionate, hard love. Like, oh my God. Like it says that, she said that the drug, love is like a drug. So those first 6 months is like really high. After those 6 months, if you don't realize that love is not going to be like that forever, you'll forever be chasing that high and you'll forever be in a new relationship. You'll always be breaking up and going with someone else and in this revolving door because you're constantly chasing the first 6 months. Just like a crackhead. They're always chasing that first high, which is why they never stop smoking crack. Well, some do, but you know. And then she said 80-20 rule. Kind of like the Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
So she said the only thing that your mate should bring is the 20%. Expecting the 80% is unreasonable.
Okay, that makes sense.
So someone should be bringing only 20% to like make you whole. But the 80% should already be there. You should be good without them. It's like, oh, you enhance my life and make it full with 20%. And you shouldn't expect someone, you should be able to expect some reasonable thing. Expect someone to not destroy what you spent a lifetime building.
Oof.
She said, I don't need a Wreck-It Ralph.
Listen.
And I've been watching Wreck-It Ralph, so I get it. I get it. Going in. No Wreck-It Ralphs. You've been spending a lifetime building who you are.
Well, this is the thing. You built the lifetime of who you were, right?
Right.
You went through the relationship you went through. Built this you. Can you imagine somebody breaking this you?
Well, here's the thing. I was on the way here in 2018, 2019, right?
Okay.
I was on my way up. The therapy had been going for years now. The business was building. I had already quit my job. But what was missing in that? I think my true relationship with God, I was still very in the infant stage of a true adult one-on-one relationship with me and God.
Yeah.
So I allowed me to take over.
You thought you were on your way.
No, I really was. And I got distracted in the desert.
40 days of the summer
It turned into 40 years.
40 years.
Because I remember that May
You were
of
hustling.
2020 making $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Everything went downhill from there.
Because you got distracted.
I got so distracted. And now when I think back to like getting pregnant, how that went down and some things there, it's like I didn't listen. Now I'm not taking it as a loss, more like a lesson. So I did take a lesson from all this. And we were able to recoup. It took a little bit longer, but here I am. I didn't wait for the 40 years. I just gave it 3 years.
Look at it this way. All this stuff that you're working on now, there was no way.
No way.
There was no possible way that person would have allowed you to do what you're doing now.
There's also no way I would have worked this hard if I didn't have my son. I wouldn't hustle.
You would be complacent where you were at. You're like, I can keep doing these $30,000 months when right now you do $30,000.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. It's a big difference for sure.
And look at all the stuff that you have now. Plus whatever.
What's coming.
Whoever's calling in like 20, 30, whatever. The phone.
Right. The phone just be ringing. It was like, hello, ring, ring. Like, I'm famous. How did you get my number? I swear it's not on Google. So some things to do that are reasonable that you can ask for. Diligently do your work and support me with mine. Support me through my growth. Don't be my therapist or savior. Just be patient and support me. So just asking for someone to be supportive of you. Love what I do. Love who I am. Support me. You don't have to be my savior. And I do remember in my last relationship, that person wanted to be my savior. Like, I'm going to do this for you. And it's like, first of all, you're not, because you can't. And like having that savior mentality, or us wanting to be a savior for someone else. I love me and Build-A-Bear.
Listen, I am done building. I am done rehabbing. I'm done.
I'm not doing none of that.
I'm not doing any of that.
She said you can expect someone to be generous at their full capacity. And this is not monetary at all. She talked about the gift of time and integrity. Just like for them to be completely generous with their time, to be 100% generous with their integrity. What? I love that. So she said we have 70,000 thoughts a day and the majority are negative. So stop allowing your traumas to lie to you. You are desirable. You are worthy. And remember that the goodness of God remember the goodness of God because trauma will always lie to you. So when you go through something with someone, your trauma will come back up and lie to you and tell you you're not worthy. But we are worthy. And I think that's one of the hardest things to deserve, and worthiness is some of the hardest things for me to
get used to.
Oof. I'm like, why do I deserve this? Like, I don't deserve certain friends. Sometimes, like, even y'all, when you guys like pour into me and love me and like are there for me, I'm like, that's why sometimes I freak out and I'm like, I just gotta give y'all money. Do y'all want money? Do I need to pay you? Like, I really feel like sometimes I have to pay people.
No.
And it's like, it's really hard for me to accept that I am worthy of the love and the care that some of my friends give me.
That, and I think you have a very, 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 very small circle of people that are unconditional with the relationship with you. Like, none of us expect anything from you.
Yeah.
None of us want anything from you, and we want you to genuinely be happy.
And I want that for
successful and all that.
To me, I'm like, I want that for everyone else, and I don't expect anything back. But it's like when someone gives it back to me the same way I give it to them, it feels so uncomfortable.
No, then I'm like, reciprocal. That is a reciprocal relationship.
I know. So she finished off saying that there is hope to get out of abusive relationships, to walk away, and to walk into love. So for us to not just continue to think that,
oh, I know that tickled you.
I'm like, I'm gonna find my boyfriend. My husband's out there somewhere.
I'm gonna walk right into him.
I almost did, but then he wanted to cuddle, and I was like, I just met you. It's not gonna happen.
Wait a minute.
I didn't tell you about this. Oh, I'll tell you about this.
How do we go from
he was one of the. I'm not gonna say which instrument. He was one of the.
How do we go from you?
He was part of the band.
How do we go from you seeing him in the Jumbotron to cuddling?
Girl, he said so. Okay, and I'm gonna wrap it up here, honestly, because we gotta go.
Is this the news that you need to tell me that I don't know about?
I don't know. There's so many. So I saw this guy, and he was part of the band, and I was like, "That's my husband."
I remember.
I meet him in person at a hotel, totally something separate, like the way it happened. We exchanged numbers. he actually was coming here to Orlando the same day that I was coming back. He was going to be here 2 days. So that morning, he texted me and we had talked about, I had gotten a really bad panic attack one of the days. I got caught up in the sea of people and it was really, really bad. So I kind of told him a little bit about it. And he's like, okay. The next morning at like 6 a.m., we're messaging because I'm up early. He was up early. And he said, oh, well, if you don't like being so in enclosed spaces, that means you don't like cuddling. To which my response was, I don't like being in large crowds.
I like to cuddle.
I didn't even mention cuddling again.
Right.
I said, what I said was, I don't like large crowds. And I don't think he liked my response.
Boy, I tell you, the devil works hard, but...
And I said, sir, he was up there playing On Time God.
Listen, to our listeners, and I know there's a few of them that I know personally. I know you guys have been in the church for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I know 1 or 2 of you had babies by musicians and they're deadbeat. That musicians are messy.
For 24 hours, I saw myself as a rock star wife. Like, it was going to be so great. And then I'm like, this man just talked about cuddling in 24 hours. Sir, no.
We just left
I
the presence
didn't
of the
even
Lord.
know his actual name. I was trying to figure out what he said.
You're still under the covenant and you want to cuddle?
There's so much more and so many more notes that I have. There's like,
oh, tell me what you thought about Chandler Moore, seeing him live. Maverick City's Chandler Moore.
It was Maverick City and Naomi.
Yes. Her voice.
Amazing.
Goosebumps. Her voice.
Chandler. So I will tell you the truth, I don't know people's names and I don't know who they are. So Maverick City.
It's huge.
They're ginormous. Love their music. And I've never looked at what they look like. So I didn't know who Chandler Moore was. So the first day he was there, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Naomi, she is great. These other people, they were all amazing. I had no idea who they were. I knew it was Maverick City,
but you didn't.
I didn't know what part of Maverick City was there. So I was like, this music is amazing. Finally, once you tell me, hey, that was Chandler Moore, I pay attention the next time he comes out. And boy, that day he brought that house down. Same thing as Naomi. They were just so in tune while you could just tell they were worshiping. Like, it just so happened that their voice is great. They were worshiping. It was truly worship music. So yeah, I definitely want to go to the end of the month when they come here.
You told me about that.
I think it's like $49.
45. I saw it.
Okay.
I remember I pulled it up when you told me, look this up. Buy this ticket.
Buy this ticket right now.
I don't have
So one of the reasons why I loved Cora at the end, Sarah Jake Roberts brought someone out to pray over her. And it's actually on Cora's Instagram. And I don't know who the woman was, but the woman prays and then she decides to turn around and pray over Sarah. And I feel like Cora was in the back. She noticed what was going on. And the woman goes to lay hands on Sarah and Cora just comes out of nowhere. I'm right there on the stage. Like I was so close. I was by myself and I inched up. I was in the VIP family area the entire time. You couldn't tell me I wasn't related to Sarah. And the security kept letting me. And then I was like, I'm by myself. It's cool. And I would wait patiently. Cool. Yeah, I would wait patiently. I'm by myself. Just let me know when I can move forward to extra seat. And they will always move me up. I was already close. They would move you up to like second, third row. So Cora just came running and caught her sister before she fell to the ground. And it was like, I can just see her in the way she was worshiping with this like hood. I'm rough, but I love Jesus, but I will fight you. And it's like, I'm going to cuss you out without saying cuss words. Maybe a few might come out, but like you could just tell the love she had for her sister. And the love that TD Jakes has for Sarah and the love that her mom, Sarita.
You sent me the video. I think you sent it to me, the video of her mom saying that she will always show up for her kid.
Girl,
she said it didn't matter if she's like, I didn't care. Last week I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up, but I knew I would have been in here waving my pimp stick just so that you know that I was
and
here
she
for
walked,
you.
She could barely walk. She was using her cane and they had to help her up. There were these stairs and she's like, I'm going to be here.
But I will say there's a thing, and I can say like my mom has always been in church. Always. From the time she was little. And there's always a saying like there's nothing like a praying mom or a praying grandma.
Depends who they're praying to in the church.
Let's edit that out, Casey. No me rompa la comunión. No, but it's a thing. Like and I always, the only time that I can remember that my mom like prayed for me and I felt it was when I had my C-section with Rylan. My mom wasn't there. My mom cannot do the hospital. I remember they were prepping me for surgery and I called her and I said, hey, I'm going to have a C-section. She's like, I'm going to pray for you right now. And I promise you, my C-section was a breeze.
I don't think my mom has been in the church since I can remember. I grew up in the church. I could be wrong. I'm sure she's prayed on her own. I don't think I ever remember my mom ever like sitting with me and praying with me.
I don't want to preference it by saying it has to be your mom. I know. So I prayed for you
now
in the bathroom.
You have
at the
you have prayed for me. Oh my God!
And I
cried because I cried.
And I'm going to tell you something because I don't think I've ever done this before. I hate praying out loud.
Me too.
I hate it. 1, 2. I haven't done it in a really long time because church really did give me like a bad like taste in my mouth after that.
They messed us up.
You were the first person that I ever held hands with, and I prayed in a really long time.
You did a really good prayer.
I don't even remember what I said. So it does mean a lot when somebody like genuinely
prays for you
because it's like there's no maliciousness, there's no ill intent. And it's like it feels different. If you've never done it for somebody or you've never had somebody come up to you and like just pray over you, it literally feels like a hug over you.
It does. I remember you prayed over me May in 2020 when we were doing the Charlemagne episode and the internet wasn't working. We're virtual. She was on a TV right here and she said, we're just going to stop right now. We're going to pray. And she said this wild prayer. I had just met her. So I think that the more that I become aligned with God and truly take it serious, even during the hard times, because there's no reason for me to not have turned back to the world with the things that have happened to me. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very easy to turn back and to have that faith. And because I've had that faith, I know things have gotten better and so many blessings have happened. But I feel like I've just gotten close to people that even though it might be uncomfortable for us, we really do believe it, right? And it's like we're just going to pray, even if it's on our own, and we're going to work on it and whatever it comes out. And when we really, really feel it, it just comes out. Mm-hmm. So I pray over the baby a lot. And I was praying with him the other day and I was like, let's get on our knees. So he came out here and we like got on our knees. And I got on my knees on the couch and I'm praying and he just got onto his little prayer position, but he really was tired. He's like, well, I'm going back to sleep. But he got into his prayer position where he's done since he was born. He will always be in this prayer position. And I prayed with him and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you've even prayed for me, that we've prayed for each other, like on our own, that when we go to church, we can just like be there, which I really miss going to church.
You should go this Sunday.
Yeah, no, I'm going to Sunday for sure. I've been watching and I've had a lot of church the past 3 days, but there's nothing like being in a church, like being there while Maverick City was singing. Oh my God. And when I'm in church.
You do not sing.
I don't sing.
You just clap and sway.
I just sway side to side. I take it in, even if it's like I'll cry, but I'm not. This weekend, I was moving. I was jumping. I felt it. It didn't matter who it was around me. I was hugging girls. I don't know their names. I was crying with them. We were giving each other napkins and just like praying over each other. So I want to get better with that, but I'm not the type to be like,
I'm Carla. What's your name?
Or running up and down when I feel the Holy Spirit running up and down the thing. But this past weekend, like I felt it, and I liked what I felt.
But you also have to be vulnerable for that.
So vulnerable. So vulnerable. So I don't know. Maybe something changed within me while I was there. So I might be like, fist pumping at church on Sunday. So just don't mind me. But yeah, the experience was great. So this is definitely not endorsed by Woman Evolved by any way, by any chance.
But Sarah, you hear this.
Sarah, I'd love to be a speaker.
We're shooting high. I thought you just wanted her. You know what? You get on that panel.
Be on the panel. Sarah,
get your pajamas and get on that panel.
I'll get on the pajama panel for sure. Yvonne Orgy 1 2023, Carla 2024. I would love it. No, but seriously, I recommend for everyone listening to this, it doesn't matter which ticket you get, show up. Show up and be in that building.
I said I was going to budget and I will buy your other ticket from you. And today we found out that Ariel got the ticket too.
Yes.
I think it would be cool. Let's do this. 10 people.
Even though we're going, but I ain't going together with you. I'm going. No. I'm entering and every man for themselves.
Yes.
Figure out where you sit in. Like, I am trying to get to the front. Leave me alone. You figure out how to get to where you going. And I'll see you outside. We'll air tag each other. We'll figure out a text. But definitely everybody needs to be in that building. Sade was there. Shout out to Sade. She has an amazing blessing that's coming her way that she found out about. So congratulations.
Literally when she came back.
Literally the day she came back, she was praying for it. And so, you know, congratulations to her and everyone else. And yeah, get your tickets. I'm going to close out with one Bible verse. Let's see if I can find a Bible verse from here. Oh, man. Rome, Joshua. This is from Cheryl Brady. But it's basically, it's not a Bible verse, but she says, my story is in every one of my stones. So I'll close out with that. Your story is in every one of your stones. So every stone that has been thrown at you, every hardship that you've been through, that is your story. So she said, everything about Joshua 4:3-8, everything about Joshua's life was hopeless until God heard the cry of his people and he sent a deliverer by the name of Moses. So just cry. Know that God is listening. He's going to hear someone's cry for you and he's going to send someone or something, and don't be in your own way where you won't receive who he sent for you, because everybody plays a role in your life. And it's like, watching Sarah, right? I'm watching Cora. She's also a daughter of TD Jakes and Sarita, right? And then you're watching like Sarah be who she is, and Cora play her part. And Cora's part is so like instrumental to who Sarah is.
And if you know Sarah's story, you would have never guessed.
No, ever. Cora was the one that had it all together. Mm-hmm. And then here is Sarah having a baby at 13 and these
working
messed up
relationships. In a relationship. Yeah.
Doing all these things. And it's like, look at where Sarah is, right? And it's like, oh, some might think like, damn, that should be Cora. But man, Cora plays her part. And I think I need to, sometimes in my life, I think I have the forefront of a lot of these things. And I bear also a lot of the hits. Mm-hmm. Because once you're in the front, like they do like that movie 300, you're in the front, you're gonna die first in the front. Mm-hmm. So I take a lot of those hits, but I really want everyone, and I try really hard on a daily basis to know that you and everyone in my team, my friends, know that without y'all, this would not be possible. So I have to always show or find a way to show gratitude that you guys are here. And I don't want ever to feel that you guys feel less than, or for someone else to think like, oh, they're less than, because it's like, I'm not where I am if it's not for y'all. It's like this, it's the boat. Like it's moving. So Women Evolve 2024. We don't know where it's going to be at. How many people? We don't know nothing. We just know we're going to be in there. We'll be in there. I'll see you next week. I'm not going to edit nothing on this podcast. It's going out. Goodbye.